morning, so if you want to continue moving around, if you have to get a beer or get a Coke or go to the restroom, feel free to do that. This is going to be kind of loose. I wanted to start, I guess I'll start with a little joke. Mark told me we couldn't have these things without some kind of humor, and I'm going to give it a try and see how it works out. I'm not an entertainer, but I do have one that I think might work. It actually appeared in the Atlanta paper not too long ago. They had a special section on religion, and it was a rabbi and a priest and a Baptist minister that were having lunch together, and God looked down and saw it and sent an angel down to give each one of them a wish. So the angel started with the Baptist minister, and the minister was going to give a wish, and he said his wish was for the destruction of the Jews. And so he turned to the rabbi and said, well, what's your wish? He said, well, my wish is for the destruction of the Baptists. And he thought for a minute, and then he turned to the priest and asked for the priest's wish, and the priest thought for a minute, and he said, well, if you're going to grant their wishes, then I'm just going to have a cup of coffee. So I know that's a little not so politically correct, but it did appear in the Atlanta paper, and they may be able to get away with it now and then. Anyway, well, first, I'd like to have Father Mills come up and say a few words. I think most of you know Father was here from like 1953 to 59, and he was called to Rome and was studying canon law, as I understand. He then came back to Owensboro and was teaching at Brescia College when I was attending there. I actually took a class from him. I don't know if he remembers. And I don't think he gave me a very good grade. But, maybe we can ask for a read. Anyway, Father, can you say a few words?
Thank you. I'm sorry about those poor grades. My memory isn't what it might have been, and I'm glad I forgot that. You should forget it too.
Get over it.
Somebody wanted to know about the chronology. Father Hill was here as pastor under Bishop Cotton, and in 1953, Bishop Cotton asked Father Hill, Monsignor Hill, to be superintendent of schools, and he would be starting visiting all the classrooms of the diocese. So I was sent down to be assistant here at St. Agnes, and I was the first time that they'd ever had two priests at the parish. But I came on a Friday, and on Monday, Father Hill started traveling, visiting the schools, and he would leave on a Monday and come back on a Friday from visiting the schools. So that happened in 53 to 59. I was here. I left in 59 to go to Rome to study, and Father Ziegler came in to be assistant and to work together. I think in 1962, 62 or 63, they were both moved to Owensboro, and then I think they closed St. Agnes School. So that was my memory of it. I think the school might have closed in 62. I don't remember. 63.
It should have been 62.
I left here in 59. And I was to go overseas. I was going to take a ship, and I was going to meet Bishop Cotton in New York City, and he was going to be there a day after I got there. So a lawyer by the name of Joe Spalding. Any of you know Joe Spalding? Joe Spalding worked in New York for Shell Oil Company. He's an attorney. And he met me at my little hotel. He took me out to dinner. On the way, he opened his wallet and showed me a clipping that he'd gotten out of the Henderson paper, I guess. It was dateline, Hanson, Kentucky. One student on the Hanson team by himself scored over 100 points. And that appeared in a New York newspaper. We are a famous community. I've said before, I got letters from people around the state of Kentucky wondering, they could see our scores, and they would ask me, how in the world do you keep up the morale? Because it was such a depressing kind of thing. I think that as far as I'm concerned, I had been ordained by the bishop, and I promised obedience to the bishop and my pastor. And if you know Ray Hill said we're going to do it, so I would say we'll do it. So I did. In March of that year, every year, I would sit there in the little rocking chair in the office. We didn't have a TV in those days; we just had a radio. And I would just gradually bring up the subject. I said, "Father Hill, you think maybe we could drop basketball this coming year?" And he would sit there and kick that foot, and he'd say, "Well, we'll see." Well, every time he did that, I knew we were darn well going to have another basketball. Bishop Cotton would come down, and I guess they made all kind of jokes behind my back. And I remember Bishop Cotton said, "Well, Father Hill, how's Father Mills' basketball coming?" And we had come back the night before, just bloody, you know. And Ray Hill said, "Well, if they don't get beat by 100 points, that's considered a moral victory." So I got a reputation, and I took some of those stories with me. And later on, as Max says, I taught at Brescia 12 years. And I remember telling my students at the college about this, and they just wouldn't believe that as a priest was alive, that we had lost 52 ball games in a row. But I told these students more than once that if you ever get discouraged, just come by and talk to me. And I can encourage you. One day after we had a really hard time, I went over to the cleaning pressing place run by J.O. Connie Thomas. Connie had a little place there next to Hardesty's drugstore first, and then he moved over to the place behind the bank, I think. And I remember going in there on Monday. I used to check. Connie and who else was there? We had about 2 cars that traveled all over the country with us. And Connie said to me, "Father Mills," he said, "you think maybe," he was serious. He said, and we had been losing really bad again. He said, "Do you think this is psychologically damaging to these young people?" It took me some time to realize that the question was, really, is it psychologically damaging to this young priest? I'm the guy that was crying in my beer, you know. But I look back, I told that story. I know that priests, you know, young priests would come along, they think, "Boy, what a fool you were." They wouldn't do that today, but I didn't know any better. I was under obedience, and honestly, it was a great experience. We had some wonderful times together, and I could tell lots of stories about it. But I don't think it psychologically damages these kids. Honey, look at them. I think they're in great shape. I think they're in great shape. I dare say that they're better men for having been on had those experiences. Because life is tough. You know that, right? Life is tough sometimes. You learn when you're just kids that you can take it on the chin and get up tomorrow morning. We'd have an awards dinner every year in March over at Buckman's store. We hadn't won a game that year, but we always had an awards dinner. We had prizes for the most improved players. Every year, we played with the big boys. We played in Henderson City, Henderson County. It was pretty democratically, you know, we had a very small school. They had 1,000 kids in there. But at the end of the tournament, the district tournament in March, they took all that money, divided it 7 ways. So we always came out with a lot of money. And every 4 or 5 years, we bought a new basketball. No, we really probably bought 2 or 3. But we came out with new sweaters and new jackets. And you think those kids had won the NCAA? It was just wonderful. But anyway, it's a great experience to me. I loved every minute of it, and I'm going to make time for a commercial. I'm going to be a priest 50 years next May 26th. That's applauding for God, because you can only do it by the grace of God. You people who are married, you know you can only do it by the grace of God. But we're going to have a celebration next June the 15th at the cathedral. In case I don't get one to you personally, you're all invited, and I hope you really show up. We need to celebrate priesthood today, and we need to thank God for the gifts, the grace that we all receive. I got a lot of stories, but I think it's...
Keep going on, keep going.
We went down to Hanson, I think Hanson, Spotsville. One night we were having an awfully hard time down in Spotsville, and you know, we didn't have very many people among our cheerleaders. We had, who was the bucket that time?
Joe.
Joe, but I mean his mother. Sue drove and Connie drove and I drove. We had 3 cars that traveled, I guess, and maybe somebody once in a while. We were doing very poorly the first time. So at halftime, they had a 20-minute break. The principal, I didn't know exactly what happened, but all the kids from Spotsville, they all left the gymnasium. Found out he took them all back to the library, and he said to them, listen, the second half, when St. Agnes gets the ball, you cheer for them. Being humiliated. I can't believe that we did that, but we did it. So the second half, when Joe Buckman, whoever it might have been, then they would give us a cheer. It was just really embarrassing. I was able to tell the people over these 49 years that we had some bad years there, but we started winning. Then we started playing 500 ball. And we won a lot. We won half our games, I think, in the last year here. But one of the greatest accomplishments, and I see it's all by the grace of God, one of the great accomplishments that I look back on happens in the person of a man called Wilbur Clark. Where are the Clark children right now? Please.
Back here. Stand up! Stand up! Stand up! Stand up!
We have a wonderful daddy. And when I first came on board, Suggs Ashby was our coach. Now, these people just walked in off the sidewalk and they started. I was not the coach. People would say you were. I said, no, I was never coach. I was athletic director. I took my orders from Ray Hill. Whatever he wanted to do, I said, yes, Father. But Suggs Ashby was in a couple years, and then Wilbur came. Now, Wilbur's not a Catholic, but Wilbur is just one of the. I'd say this to go over here. He's one of the finest men I ever met. And after a while, Wilbur said to me one night, maybe after we had lost really, really bad, and I thought, he'll never come back. And he came back and he said, I think I want to take instructions. And before I left, he took instructions and he was received in the Catholic Church before I left to go to Rome. And I thought over the years, maybe that's why all those crazy, depressing days, maybe that's why it all happened, to win the grace that man needed to go in and join the church. I was always so proud of that, and many, many times I followed that man, you know. He's a wonderful guy. Thank you. We're going to have a celebration. Did I tell you that yet? Next year, June the 15th at the cathedral, and the pastor's not here, so I can tell you one more thing. That would count for your Sunday Mass. He wants me to keep on talking. I could.
I don't know how many people know, but actually today is Father Mills' 75th birthday. We got him a St. Agnes Knights shirt.
I'll wear this with pride. No,